Turn our attention to Waverley. Well, 3 months ago, the council there ignored an inspector's advice to scrap its policy on new housing. Now it's decided to scrap its policy on new housing. But what could this mean for plans to build hundreds of new homes in that area? Our political reporter, Jack Fein, has been to see a development in Godalming.
This is Cattershaw Lane in Godalming, and straight in front of me I can see a sign saying, "Welcome to Riverside." And this is essentially the development where they're building 147 homes. If I look in front of me, I can see scaffolding, I can see a crane, I can see built homes, but I can also see half-built homes as well. So this is very much an ongoing development. Just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's going on in Waverley. And like all boroughs and districts in Surrey and Hampshire, one way or another, hundreds of properties are going to have to be built in this area over the next few decades. The only question is where those will be and who gets to decide. Joining me here this morning is Patrick Haveron, who is a local Liberal Democrat campaigner. Patrick, Waverley Borough Council had a plan of how many homes to build. What are your concerns if it is abandoned?
Without a plan, any area not constrained by the Greenbelt could essentially be built on, which means areas in Cranley and Farnham, Greenfields, will all be open season, open game for small developments of, well, I say small, 100 odd houses, 147 like we're looking at today, so that you get a gradually increasing urban sprawl with no real planning for schools, infrastructure, transport, anything that makes it sustainable or even interesting place to live, really.
But Waverley are going to come up with a plan, aren't they, of some kind?
Waverley have to come up with a plan, yes, but it may take a year, 18 months to actually get it consulted on, get everybody's views again, because essentially now that they've got a new housing figure, they need to now work out where do they go? Where are we going to put all these houses? It's not just Waverley's problem, it's the South East problem.
But it is difficult, isn't it? Because Herts Council's plan for housing has been criticised. East Hampshire has also struggled. Mole Valley is looking at whether to build more on Greenbelt land. I mean, everyone's having to think about this.
It is a burning topic, and everybody has to get used to the fact that NIMBYism is no more. You cannot prevent development. What we've found here locally is that we've got no development after mine concept, so that once people are here, nobody else can come here. If you've discovered the gems of Godalming, woe betide your children wanting to live here as well. That's just simply not going to happen because there isn't enough housing for us.
But to an extent, haven't Waverley had problems because they've tried to do what residents want, which is essentially not build too many homes? This is a beautiful part of Surrey that we're in Waverley and southwest Surrey. It could so easily be ruined, couldn't it?
This is where we need a grown-up plan, a big idea of where to put things. One of the ideas which did come forward was sort of a new village at Dunsfeld Park, and with a big enough development, then perhaps the railway between Guildford and Cranley could have been paid for by the developer. All of a sudden, all the local protest groups in Cranley and Farnham have suddenly woken up going, that idea a few years ago was actually pretty good.
That's Patrick Haveron ending that report. Well, no one from Waverley Council would talk to us this morning, but a statement puts the change down to a fresh housing market assessment that Waverley will need 8,500 new homes in the next 18 years. And it says comments from a government planning inspector go against official government policy and guidance. Diane James is the UKIP councillor for Ewhurst. She was at last night's council meeting where the decision to abandon the plan was made. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
What's your reaction to all of this? And have we actually sort of ended up here?
We've ended up here, as I pointed out last night, that the writing was on the wall as far back as February 2012, when various reports that were being presented to the Conservative administration indicated quite clearly that they needed to rethink their housing numbers. And they've effectively wasted 18 months, because if that rethink had happened then, we wouldn't be in the situation we are now, which is withdrawing the core strategy at the last possible minute, effectively. And we would have had 18 months to consult with residents, to get a better idea of what they felt was acceptable in terms of location and numbers, certainly an indication of the infrastructure that was required, and stop what is happening at the moment, which is developers coming in. And if you look at Cranley just as an example, in the last 6 or 7 weeks, applications in for a minimum of 400 homes on one site, 140 on another. And these are all Greenbelt sites, and it's a developer's playground at the moment.
So you're worried about the future housing developments in Waverley?
Sorry, could you say that again?
You must be worried about the future housing developments in Waverley.
Oh, absolutely. This is a situation where, quite rightly, resident groups are getting together to say we don't want it here. And they're not doing that on any NIMBYist basis. What they're saying is, we haven't got the roads, there aren't the school places, we can't register with our GP practice. Even the statutory bodies such as the water authorities and the electricity companies and such, they've got an obligation to provide a service, but the question they're asking themselves, where do we source this from? So you've got this element of housing that's going to be put in, and as I say, it's a developer's paradise, but nobody's thought through, can it be supported? And to use that lovely phrase that the government keeps coming up with, is it sustainable? Well, it isn't at the moment.